Next up, we've got our skate park design team is online tonight. So we have a second set of slides that was for that grouping.
Are you going to present it or bring it up?
Mike, are you going to present the slides from your sides, or do you want me to flip them for you?
Yes, if you can flip them, I don't think I can navigate them from my end.
Okay.
But I'll just hit next. I know it'll be pretty quick.
Okay. Ready?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. Well, good evening, Council. I'm Mike McIntyre. I'm the principal and founder of Action Sports Design, and I'm really excited to be working on this project and also on Tradition as well. So our firm specializes in skate parks, bike parks, BMX racetracks, and wheel-friendly environments worldwide. And I've been doing this full-time for the last 25 years in professional practice. I'm also an avid BMX racer on the national circuit and also skateboarded at a high level for several years. And I'm also a landscape architect and a general engineering contractor. Next. So when we say skate park, the semantics have really changed over the years, where it was pretty much specifically core skate park, and then bikers were coming in, and then kids on their scooters, and roller skates, inline skates, and it's really changed over the years to where it's more of an all-wheel park inclusive environment for all non-motorized wheel devices such as skateboards, BMX, scooters, and inline skates to enjoy. Next. So this would be what I would consider an all-wheel park environment. And what was really exciting working on this project was the community involvement process, the excitement, the engagement, the online survey results we got. We tried to disseminate as much information to help define what is the identity of the skate park, how much of it is transition, radial walls, how much is it urban street, where do you sit, where are shade structures, what's the contextual environment, and of course discussions with theming. So we held a public engagement meeting on December 4th, December 18th, and recently January 15th. These are pictures from those earlier community meetings, and what was really cool is getting the community concepts where sketches were able to come in. We did sticker dot exercises on what were the preferred elements, and we ended up getting questionnaire results. Next. So here's an example. I know we're talking some about an example of the citrus theme where we did receive sketches on an orange. Then how would that be integrated into a functional feature and visual feature, and really more dynamic art incorporated into this park? So we don't see this really being just a skate park where some of the elements are going to be public art or skatable art incorporated into it. So it should be visually spectacular. Next. We started to look at space plans, looking at a little bit more of a geometric split between the street and the flow area and the kind of the red core central area. What if we brought the spectators and non-users into the central core of the park? Then we looked at some offset designs, and then finally the third design, the community really liked how we integrated with the external walkway loop that goes around it, and how you had 3 different points of connection into the park, which could take you into different skill set levels as well. And a central shade pavilion and kind of open space in the middle for those that were riding. They could sit and take a break in the middle instead of having to go out of the park. Next. Here's a couple of shots from the excitement. Got a lot of enthusiasm. Ended up with a focused direction with that third concept layout. And we did some raffle tickets and some ASD skateboard giveaways to the community, but overall, it was really, really dynamic public engagement process. Out of all the years I've done this, there's so much enthusiasm in Port St. Lucie and a good diversity of scooter riders, skateboards, BMX, and it wasn't just one faction of end user, which was nice.
Mike, can I ask you a
And great.
question?
Yes, yeah,
So I know there's been concerns in the community over the past several years about the skateboarders not specifically having an area. So are you representing that when the skateboarders were with other residents, that they were open to having it be more open to all the different types of wheels? I just wanted to make sure
yes.
that was the
Yes.
case because of what has transpired in the past, saying that, they don't have a space, and knowing that we have our roller facility that we're doing our grand opening for, that is really specific to that use. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was open to it.
Yes, and typically the process then we're doing a skate park, and yes, you can ride your bike in there. The BMX community, which is, you might have seen in this year's or this last Olympics, BMX park freestyle is in the Olympics, skateboarding is in the Olympics, and the cross utilization of the same terrain is common. So everyone, there was no skateboarders versus BMXers and versus, inline skaters. They know if you build it and you go to any skate park, they're all going to be there regardless. You can put up all the signs, we're still going to all show up.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much for that.
But what was really important about your question is how the floor plan of the skate park has been laid out, where there's a really good sight lines, so you can see, a biker on the right. So I don't want to say bowling alley lanes, but how the flow is on the design has really good sight lines and avoids any crisscross, traffic and potential collisions. So I think everyone really liked that they could go to an area around this bowl or that bowl or this street area, this ledge, and the whole park, you can roll through the whole park as the first time, rider. You don't have to go downstairs or in a bowl. Everything will have real mellow ramps going down on the side. So you should be able to flow through the whole park with not ever having to go down some stairs or into a bowl and be forced to do something. You can just push around and roll around the whole park.
Okay, great.
Okay. So we were able to take, I know we didn't have a lot of the other slides in this real fast snippet, but we took a lot of those sketches, turned them into reality. And this delineates the space allocation for the overall park. So you can see street is more street elements, what you might find. Why you see everywhere, no skateboarding signs at every mall, street, bank, you name it. So we brought that into the park and then added kind of three central or perimeter shade areas for spectator portals and viewing. Those that were going to be going on the pedestrian pathways and walkways around, they could come in and treat this as a point of interest. You don't have to ride. You can just come in here and watch the riders and spectate. So this shows a little bit of the different grade elevations and where bowls might be and more street elements throughout the park.
So Mike, how much better would a industrial concept like a citrus farm do with bowls and,
We're past that. We're not talking about that. We already voted on the
what
concept.
can we do with forest? I'm just
Let's just put it this way. If you guys want to do an Orange Grove, we could have the concrete bandings going through the park and then break out into citrus grove trees at an angle.
Okay, thank you. We already voted. Moving on.
Madam Mayor, just to remind everyone, someone on the prevailing side of the vote could bring
yes,
it back.
Councilman Bana.
Yeah, well,
Hey, this is
We're done.
Adaptive Park.
you're done. We're done. Keep going. It's 10:32.
I think that's our update on the skate park side of things. So
Okay.
we're still in design. We've got some ideas, but we're not totally set with everything yet.
Well, I think we all look forward to what comes back, and I think we're more excited about getting this park underway and that groundbreaking on December 9th, 2025 at 11 a.m.
Of course.
And so
Thank you for trusting us with this design. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The only thing I wanted to add before we move on, I just wanted to thank council for taking the time to review those themes and those layouts and those one-on-ones. We really appreciated that. I wanted to thank Jonathan and his team for coming up with those themes and those different layouts. He put together quite a bit of a package for us to look through, so that was very helpful that we had a bunch of choices. I also wanted to recognize Burkhart. There's two members of Burkhart Construction here, our CMAR, our construction manager at risk, who's going to help us with the constructability of the entire project. And the ARPA funds, $5.5 million, those were encumbered when we signed the contract with Burkhart, and those will be spent by December 2026. And as we approach the 60% design, exactly when and how we spend those will become much more clear. So that's all we have on Torino.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Now we are on to Tradition Regional.
All right, so good evening again, Madam Mayor, Council, Mr. City Manager. Zach Sherman back for round 2, Executive Manager, Parks and Recreation. All right, so tonight we're also providing an update on the BMX facility at Tradition Regional Park. This is another exciting project. Also being designed by Mike McIntyre with Action Sports Design. Mike's going to give a brief update via Zoom again on the design progress and timeline for bidding and construction. And I'll just go ahead and give part of this away. The plans, they're essentially 100% complete. We'll soon be seeking building compliance and putting everything out to bid related to the BMX facility. Mike's specifically going to showcase the 24 beautiful renderings that he has put together for all of you to view. You'll have the opportunity, of course, to ask questions, and as always, staff are on hand. Just generally, before we get into Mike's presentation, the overall update on Tradition Regional Park. Madam May has just started the baseball fields. Lighting is set to start going in February. Madam May is working from the east where the baseball fields will be located, and they're working their way towards the BMX facility. There's still some utility work that's being done. Hopefully, we're projected to get all that done by March 1st, aligning hopefully with the start of the BMX facility construction. Overall construction will continue through 2025. We're anticipating, projecting an opening in early 2026. So like I said, we're on hand to answer any questions you may have. So without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Mike McIntyre, who will present the renderings, 24 of them, that he has put together for you guys to look at. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Zach, are you gonna be able to tap through? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Someone will be able to tap through that. Thank you. Thank you. So I know everyone is getting a little bit late on your end, but I think it's really exciting to show a lot more detail and finite renderings since the last batch. So we'll go through 24 different layouts. I know I can't move my mouse, but this is a pretty accurate rendition where you can see the bicycle play space, learning area with a central circle core. There's the the restroom concession and storage building, the track. There's a pump track and the jump lines around the outer edge of it. Staging area, we've added the Port St. Lucie logo in the middle of the staging area. Another significant change is the ADA accessible ramp that goes along the backside to the top of the start hill. So it is ADA compliant and accessible if you wanted to be a gate operator. But however, the facility is an adaptive racetrack. You will be running adaptive racing for those that have mobility challenges. This park is gravity fed. So from the top to the bottom, if you have to use your hands to pedal, feet, or coast, you'll make it from the top to the finish line, which is really unique on how that's designed and how the back slope works, coming off the back of each jump and how you enter and exit each turn. Next. Here's another view, looking at the park. You can see the perimeter walkway that leads to the event space, amphitheater, seating area with the shade sails, and then the gates do open up into the ball field area, but there is a 6-foot decorative security fence that does go around the perimeter of the park. And then inside, there's a 4-foot chain link fence, black vinyl coated like a softball field or baseball field for spectators and safety of the riders. Next. So another view looking at it. I mean, I don't know if that's how the water will end up looking, but it's the best we could do. Make it look cool. This is using the Port St. Lucie Pantones, colors, logos, and we really went out this branded because this will probably be extremely highly photographed on social media. So it'll be really cool for people to be able to identify what this is. Next.
That's awesome.
This is showing some of that. Looks like it's BMX race day, so you can see BMXers, to scale on the track, coming around there. And if you can imagine a pickleball court surface or tennis court with rubber shoes, chirping on the surface, that's what this ride coat surfacing is. So it's way better than traditional tracks have the clay polymer-based additive to it and asphalt turns. It really hurts and your helmet does stick when you hit that asphalt, where the sport court is super grippy on the rubber tires, skateboard wheels, scooter wheels, etc. But when you do fall, if it's not a rubber type surface or a helmet, it does slide. So there's a safety thing. I've been using this surface on Oldsmar and every BMX Supercross track in North America I've done, and we've had zero delamination, zero issues, and it really minimized the maintenance to just maybe if there needs to be something rolled on every 5-10 years, on some areas, but really it should stand the test of time, and it's on 6-inch thick, 5,000 psi shotcrete reinforced underneath there. So don't really look at it should look pretty much the same in 30 years.
All right, well, that means Councilwoman Pickett won't get hurt when he falls off the BMX bike.
Well, there's always impact, but in terms of sticking and, I've been a victim. I broke my wrist, elbow, and separated my shoulder going in full speed into an asphalt turn, and it's because I just stuck. As soon as I hit, there's no,
My bones
it's like pretty much not cool. But yeah, this hopefully gives you a more realistic view of, the parking, the drop off. You can see the safety bollards that go around the drop off area there. The entry into the bicycle play space is offset from the primary entry. Shade structures for parents, non-riders on the right. So we got some shade. And those that are in the staging for races and events too, over the Start Hill and the amphitheater area.
Okay, I have a
Next.
question with regard to the parking. So,
Yes.
and I got to credit my assistant for this because this BMX stuff is so not my world. However, I know that parking is an issue at some of our parks. Now, with this park, there are going to be weekend events, correct? And
It'll be local at the local level, which just means we have done some overlays for capacity with USA BMX, defined overflow areas as well for those events.
okay, so that means people who are coming with their BMX bikes are going to bring a trailer behind a vehicle in order to get their bikes out of that trailer, I'm assuming. And so
Rack.
are we accommodating parking spaces for vehicles with trailers attached to address this issue? Because obviously, if there's a weekend event, you're going to have the car or the vehicle attached to the trailer, and you're going to bring that trailer back with you each time. So I don't know if this is a Mike question or a staff question. Are we making sure that we have accommodations for that type of parking in this park?
So I believe when this park's all said and done, I think there's 1,196 spaces. Of course, not all those are in phase 1, but what we're going to do, we're dipping into the phase 2 portion of the parking, and we're going to bring that into phase 1. So that gives us an extra 242 spaces that will probably make into a grassy stabilized area. So that'll help with the parking. I think Mike said that when they do state and regional events, for those weekend events, which could run, I believe, Friday through Sunday,
Correct.
2 to 3 times a year, I think. So for those big events, we can expect 400 to 500 vehicles, I think, roughly. So we expect that grassy overflow, 242 extra spaces would help offset that pressure from those events.
All right, so I appreciate that, but Mr. City Manager, we have to make sure it does work. It does help, not it could, because we know that we have this issue with other parks. So if we're not forward thinking and making sure that we address that from the front side, knowing that every new park we open, right, we have so many residents that want to use it, and especially when you're talking about a world-class, one-of-a-kind, unique, no one else has BMX adaptive all-wheel park. If we don't get the parking right from day one, that's no good. And I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I mean, really, we have to make sure we're paying attention to this.
Do we know what the programming is going to be or anticipate? Because the reason I'm asking is because the way I see this park, it's going to be programmed every weekend, and me wanting to go out there with my grandkids on the weekends, I can't do that because it's programmed, and I can't get through there through the week. So do we anticipate that there's going to be some kind of tournament there every weekend, or is it built into the time frame for open, open session for anybody to go out there on a Saturday or a Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah, Mike, did you want to speak to the schedule?
Yeah, I could, this hasn't been a voted in or, final operational schedule, but this would be open like any public playground this will be open up 7 days a week, and it will be posted and closed only during those sanctioned race time and practice time hours, which would typically, you may have practice on a Wednesday from 7 to 9, or it could be Tuesday and Thursday, 7 to 9, for closed BMX racing practice, or it might be another type of wheel device practice schedule. Typically, the BMX race schedules that are going to happen it could be on a Saturday morning, Saturday evening, or Sunday morning or Sunday evening. Some tracks do race one night during the week. So there's a lot of flexibility in how those race schedules can occur. So at the local race level, there would be racing going on every week, at least one race a week and one practice a week as a bare minimum.
So, Mayor.
Yes.
So you mentioned the parking and with the trailers, and that is a great idea. And then, of course, I'm looking at the parking, the way it's laid out, and I'm sure this is just conceptual. You have the grass in between the parking, so there's no way they can pull through. Because a lot of times if you go into a parking lot at a grocery store, wherever, you can pull on through, and then if you have a trailer, it would take up the 2 parking spaces. So in this, it does not. Plus, with the radius of the parking spots do not line up. So they could possibly take up 2 to 4 spots if they had a trailer. So I'm wondering, when you mentioned about the grass area, if the grassy area would be parking for trailers only.
Yeah, we could do that.
So it's a great idea, because the way it's laid out or what I'm looking at, that would never work here.
And so where that grassy stabilized lot would go, it's not up on the screen right now, but
Yeah.
there it is. Okay, so where those soccer fields are in the upper right-hand corner, there's it would be just underneath that, where you start getting into the phase 2. So that would be over in that section. And those spots there obviously aren't meant for trailers or anything. So.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Fair.
So obviously, I think parking is important. I think we need to. The city manager and I had a discussion this morning in regards to events in general, And I believe that when we have the discussion about events, Mr. City Manager, we should also have a broader discussion about parking for events, period, throughout the city, not just with the BMX track, but I'm thinking with everything, with the Mid-Florida Event Center. And the reality is, we're never going to have enough parking to accommodate everyone that wants to come to these events because we're 250,000+ in population and growing. So the question is, what's next? Do we have areas identified in the city? Do we have busing? Do we bring people in? I think we have to ask the broader question of how we're going to attack parking. I got to go to Rock Hill, South Carolina to actually see a U.S. Olympic BMX track. And I encourage you to look at that. They do have a good amount of parking, but they also do a lot of busing in, and that's one of the top tracks in the nation. My concern is, believe it or not, is I think you have a valid point. We need to address trailers. So do you look at an unload, load situation, similar to what you have when you do boat drop off? And a few like let's say some of those might have parking spaces, but I'm looking at a lot of pavement too. And so like we look at trip count, what's the average per daily trip? Well, what's the anticipated amount of parking that we can expect on average being utilized? And are we gonna have all this pavement for the 1 or 2 times a year we have a humongous event? And then you just have black asphalt everywhere, and that's not necessarily good either. So bigger discussion, I think, that needs to be had about the parking and eventing and programming, but all good points.
Yeah, and I could help that out. I've done every UCI Worlds. I designed Rock Hill as well, and Houston for the Worlds, and how certain events you have to bus people in because they don't have the amount of parking. There is some advantage too with the grass space, so they don't pull in, but you have enough travel space because most of the bikes are going to be in the back of a pickup truck. It could be in a SUV. Bike racks on the back may hold 2, maybe 4 max off the back. And sometimes that backup space, or with no backup space, you find people pulling forward, taking up 2 spaces when they don't really need to. They can pull up the front of their vehicle up to the grass curb as an offset, so both vehicles are facing each other, but you have enough depth on the backside for ingress, egress around those bike racks. And that's what you do have right now. But yeah, for scheduled national events, you need overflow, and possibly there could be buses coming in from another lot location offsite for a big national.
Yeah, and I think about too, and I don't know how much, obviously we're looking at pictures here, so it's really hard to see, but since you're familiar with Rock Hill, they have a velodrome there. And so I look at the potential of other biking activities that the city might want to expand to and may not want to give up that much land for parking. So, this is the first step, obviously, is the BMX. But I look at that velodrome, and I'd never seen one before. I don't know if you guys know what a velodrome is. I've never seen one before. I didn't even know what it was till I went to Rock Hill. And I was so impressed by it. And it was just one of those things where, I don't even know where's the closest one in Florida to us. So, but, again, a lot of asphalt there, not to say that's not going to get used, but the question is how much, and is it worth giving up that amount of land instead of figuring out how we're going to deal with parking? Because the truth is we're not going to have an answer how we're going to fit thousands of people that want to come to a BMX tournament. So.
No, and that may be true, but the problem is that we always, when we look at parking, we never have enough, but I think we talked about how we can do a better job in planning for it. And yes, that whole concept and the question about, okay, how are we going to handle events and get people to them? Yeah, that's a much broader question, but this park is probably going to be in existence before that gets flushed out. So all I'm saying is that make sure we maximize every single space we possibly can and take into account the trailer issue, because yes, people put them in their trucks and stuff, but if you're talking about over time getting more professional, they're going to be putting them in trailers. They're not going to necessarily. So let's just make sure we're maximizing it. I don't want to have a situation where it's like we know this, but then we make the same mistake over and over again. So that's all. That's what it's about. So great. Thank you. We look forward to this, Mike. It's going to be amazing.
It will. Absolutely will. But yeah, I will address those parking diagrams as well. I have worked with USA BMX on some diagrams for this, but I think also the offset depth of the parking will assess that as well and show you how an event would typically be set up with 10 by 10 team tents, et cetera, like you might have seen in Rock Hill, which probably could have used a little bit more parking, but
Yeah.
Great.
And I just, Madam Mayor, before we move on to the next item, I just want to say, Mike, you've done a fantastic job. I mean, it has been really cool working with you, and you brought some really first-class plans to the city, so thank you.
Yeah.
yeah, we're super passionate about this, and it sounds a little bit of delays here and there, but the more we're like, what if we move this an inch? What if we do it here? I mean, we're going to make sure this is out of the gate world class. I mean,
It's amazing, and like the Vice Mayor said, it's been great to work with you, and we're all very much looking forward to moving forward and getting these parks open. So thank you, thank you.
yes, absolutely. Very excited. Thank you.
All right,
All right, thank you so much for your feedback. We
thank
appreciate
you,
it.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,